El ninja más fuerte ha llegado.
Las espinas permanecen,
Por favor, bloquea
aunque
a un
caigan
héroe.
los pétalos.
Yo soy más que solo un arma.
Soy Jin. Y
El enemigo
siempre lo
está
seré.
bloqueando un héroe.
Pase lo que pase.
Mi magia fluye tan
Tu
libremente
equipo
como los
está
vientos.
seleccionando.
Hola, mi amigo.
El enemigo está seleccionando.
Experimenta la eufonía del sufrimiento.
¡Matar a todos
Tu
de
equipo
una
está
vez!
seleccionando.
Solo el amor y
El
la
enemigo
noche
está seleccionando.
son eternos.
El amor y la esperanza son los dos mayores inventos.
amigo de Nana?
Por favor, selecciona un héroe.
¡Soy Freya, el ángel guardián del Valle del Norte!
¿Listo? ¡Vamos!
El enemigo está seleccionando.
Ahora Kai entra en escena.
Bienvenido a Mobile Legends. 5 segundos hasta que el enemigo llegue al campo de batalla. ¡Aplástalos! Todas las tropas desplegadas.
Necesito el buff.
Permanezcan alerta. Mi devoción no pide nada a cambio. Detrás de mí hay más que mis alas. Yo nací siendo guerrera. Solamente tomo un camino hacia un valle del norte pacífico.
Necesito refuerzos. Necesito refuerzos. Primera sangre.
Lucha hasta el final de cada batalla. Yo surgí de la guerra para ponerle un fin.
¡Espérame!
Perder nuestro hogar será más doloroso que la muerte. ¡Reúnanse conmigo!
Un enemigo ha sido asesinado.
La misericordia no funciona.
El enemigo ha asesinado a la tortuga.
La guerra se aproxima.
Un aliado ha sido asesinado. Asesinato doble enemigo.
La luz de victoria brillará a través de las oscuras nubes de guerra.
Racha enemiga.
No temas, yo te guiaré.
Un enemigo ha sido asesinado.
Haré que mi pueblo se sienta orgulloso.
Asesinato doble. Mega asesinato enemigo. Racha enemiga. Necesito refuerzos.
Mi espada nunca descansará ni se oxidará.
Enemigo invencible.
Sin intrusos.
Un aliado ha sido asesinado. Necesito refuerzos. Necesito
La misericordia no
refuerzos.
funciona aquí en el campo de batalla.
Necesito refuerzos. Un aliado ha asesinado a la tortuga. Necesito refuerzos. Has asesinado a un enemigo. Un enemigo ha sido asesinado. Finalizado. Tu equipo destruyó una torre. Necesito refuerzos.
Haré que mi pueblo se sienta orgulloso.
Un aliado ha sido asesinado. ¡Ataquen!
Lucha hasta el final de cada batalla.
Un enemigo ha sido asesinado. Tu equipo destruyó una torre. Retirada.
No temas, yo te guiaré.
Necesito refuerzos. Nuestra torre ha sido destruida.
¡Por la paz!
Un enemigo ha sido asesinado. ¡Racha de asesinatos!
¡Reúnanse conmigo!
Has asesinado a un enemigo. Un aliado ha sido asesinado.
La luz de victoria brillará a través de las
Tu
oscuras
equipo
nubes de
destruyó
guerra.
una torre. ¡Ataquen! Has sido asesinado.
Ahora, no.
Necesito refuerzos. Necesito refuerzos. Un aliado ha sido asesinado. Necesito refuerzos. Tu equipo destruyó una torre. El enemigo ha asesinado a la tortuga. Un enemigo ha sido asesinado. Finalizado. Necesito refuerzos. ¡Racha de asesinato! Un aliado ha sido asesinado. ¡Ataquen!
Yo nací siendo guerrera.
Finalizado. ¡Ataquen!
¡Levántate en la gloria!
Necesito refuerzos.
Solamente tomo un camino desde un valle del norte pacífico.
Un enemigo ha sido asesinado. ¡Ataquen! Un enemigo ha sido asesinado. Necesito refuerzos.
Mi espada nunca descansará ni se oxidará. La guerra.
Necesito refuerzos. Un aliado ha sido asesinado. ¡Racha enemiga! Necesito refuerzos. ¡Ataquen! Un aliado ha sido asesinado. ¡Ataquen! ¡Por la paz! ¡Retirada! Necesito refuerzos.
En alerta.
Un enemigo ha sido asesinado. Un aliado ha sido asesinado.
¡Levántate en la gloria!
Finalizado.
Sin intrusos.
Tu equipo destruyó una torre. Un enemigo ha sido asesinado. Ha sido asesinado. Un enemigo ha sido asesinado. Un aliado ha sido asesinado. Necesito refuerzos. Tu equipo destruyó una torre. ¡Ataquen! Nuestra torre ha sido destruida. ¡Ataquen! Retirada. Retirada.
Yo nací siendo guerrera.
¡Ataquen!
Perder nuestro hogar será más doloroso que la muerte. Yo surgí de la vida asesinada. Ahora no.
¡Mega asesinato enemigo!
El pueblo se sienta orgulloso.
Nuestra torre ha sido destruida. ¡Por la paz! ¡Retirada! Ha sido asesinado. ¡Retirada! ¡Retirada!
¡Reúnanse conmigo!
¡Retirada! ¡Necesito refuerzos!
La misericordia no funciona aquí en el campo de batalla.
¡Retirada!
Mi devoción.
Un aliado ha sido asesinado. Un enemigo ha sido asesinado. ¡Has asesinado a un enemigo! Ha sido asesinado.
Ahora no.
Un enemigo ha sido asesinado. Enemigo invencible. Finalizado. ¡Racha de asesinatos!
Ataquen al Lord.
Sin intrusos.
¡Ataquen! Un aliado ha sido asesinado. ¡Necesito refuerzos!
Mi espada nunca descansará ni se oxidará. No temas.
Finalizado. Asesinato doble enemigo. El enemigo ha asesinado al Lord. Retirada. Nuestra torre está bajo ataque. Nuestra torre ha sido destruida. Retirada. Nuestro inhibidor está bajo ataque. Racha enemiga. Nuestra torre ha sido destruida.
¡Por la paz!
Ha sido asesinado.
Ahora no.
Un aliado ha sido asesinado. Nuestra torre está bajo ataque. Nuestra torre está bajo ataque. Nuestro inhibidor está bajo ataque. Nuestra torre ha sido destruida. Nuestra torre ha sido destruida. Nuestro inhibidor está bajo ataque. ¡Racha enemiga! Nuestra torre ha sido destruida.
Derrota.
Ahora Kai entra en escena.
Starting from very early.
I do think that this is a good move to be banning that out, and also understanding that the Valentina is an option to take away as well. But it turns out Omega is going to respect the potential that this Julian can have. Such a huge flex pick can be put into several different lanes, and we'll see. Evos, naturally, we always see that Valentina being banned by red side. Are they going to go for that, or are they going to leave it open for Omega to take?
It's a tough question for Evos SG, because if they do ban out the Valentina, it opens up Omega to be able to snatch up the Akai pretty much for free. This is why the Julian was banned out by Omega instead of going for the Akai themselves, because they know that they are putting Evos SG in this difficult situation, and even if Evos SG were to open up the draft, let it through, Omega still have the choice of either Akai or Valentina. Evos, they're gonna go for the Ling ban instead.
Wow, banning out the link that's leaving both Akai as well as this Valentina open. So Omega opting to take the Valentina would mean that Evos has the priority now on picking up the Akai.
He can pick up the Akai. I do think that is wise, as well as a Beatrix that has been left open. That could be definitely something that they can consider. Or it turns out, oh, okay, it is. It's going to be the Beatrix as well as the Akai. And the Ling ban comes through completely, of course, respecting Ryzen, who can utilize that hero to any and all degrees.
Yep, the draft right now certainly developing to expectations. Locking in the Akai and the Beatrix very early on is going to be quite important for Evos SG, because again, the heavy spin is a very important tool to be able to control battlefields. And contesting this Beatrix is going to be incredibly important for both these teams, because we do have to talk a little bit about the matchup in the gold lane. Adamir and Kelra, these are both players that these two teams like to play very heavily around.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, Kara also has yet to pick that up. So Beatrix, yes, does have a dominant lane matchup, but there's always a chance for Kara to come back. On this Valentina though, it could also be a flex pick, so technically you don't really know which lane it will go into. But right now, Masha and Baxia are going to be the next two picks on the side of Omega.
This is starting to hint that the Valentina may be placed in that mid lane. We'll see what happens in the next two picks coming in from Omega, looking at the drafts. But from the side of Evos, what I wanted to add on that Beatrix pick is that it also is a good and priority pick for Adamir for sure in that gold lane, but it is also denying the potential away from Kelra that we know to be the Filipino savage in the Philippines. So now Evos, with their current lineup, is looking quite great. What are they going to follow up here with and to seal that first phase?
Typically in the first phase, Evos SG likes to lock in the EXP lane or the mage. Typically they like to go for both, but since they locked in the Beatrix and the Akai early, they're only going to have one choice. In this case, case, they're going to be locking in the Dirok. Ordinarily, you would expect them to see a mage lock in at this point for Sayla, typically something like the Xavier or the Kagura, but Omega locking in the Valentina early actually makes this quite difficult because you don't want to give Omega the chance to steal away big ultimates like the Dawning Light.
Yeah, definitely. I guess that's probably also what Evo's SG has to be careful going into this next ban phase over here. But looking across the team compositions, on the side of Omega, they have the aggression coming out from the Masha, from the Baxia, and Valentina's obvious abyss. What options do you think they're left with now?
You know, honestly, if I looked at the composition that Omega's bringing right now for the side of Evos, I'd pick up someone like an Atlas. I think the CC is necessary at this stage. I'd put Akai in that jungle position, or yeah, the Akai in the jungle position for sure. But we'll see what happens. I mean, right now, the Dyrith pick is quite surprising for me, but maybe I understand because there is a potential that this Baxia could be placed into the lanes, and it is a counter, quote-unquote, for the Esmeralda. But Omega, they're not taking any chances, and they will actually be banning that Esmeralda away, as well as a Claude ban, like you mentioned before here, Scrubby, for the side of Evos.
Lots of respect coming out of Smart Omega here. They recognize that even though they have drafted counter heroes, they don't want to have to deal with some of these more meta picks nowadays. The Esmeralda is really tearing up the Land of Dawn here at MSC 2022. So lots of respect there. And even more respect from Evo's SG onto Kelra again, banning out the Clint at this point. You mentioned earlier, Atlas could be an option for Evo's SG, but very dangerous because, again, Fatal Links are not an ultimate you want to give the Valentina.
That's true. I mean, you definitely don't. And we've seen so many devastating Fatal Links. Evo's SG themselves have also fallen. I think it was the game with Orange Esports to one very fatal links, very gently.
Fatal links. You need to emphasize that a little.
Yep.
Like split apart the words. But yes, that one ultimate I think ended the game for them, unfortunately, so definitely have to be careful of that. Now Sailor, given that there is a Valentina on the other team, his options are pretty limited. I mean, he has the Kagura, the Lilia as well. What do you think he's going to go into?
If he wants to go for his power pick, definitely Kagura. I mean, last time around he picked up that Kagura, it was insane. But maybe they don't want to take that route. Maybe it's a little too risky for them. They prefer just consistent AoE burst damage that of course can be taken from someone like the Lilia.
I definitely agree with the Lilia pick over the Kagura, but Smart Omega gonna be bringing in some pretty interesting picks here onto the Land of Dawn, as now the Irritel and the Natalia going to be locked in. Natalia, so far, being a hero that a lot of teams have difficulty dealing with. We're gonna be seeing most likely Chaknu on this hero just creating havoc on the side of Evo's SG.
Yeah, I think Irritel, well, I believe Kelra played one game on Irritel so far. I don't think that was a win for him, but he is, after all, the Filipino savage. You know that he can carry any of these marksmen into the role. With the pickup on Natalia though, how is that looking for Evos?
That's the question. That's a question. I mean, they're going to have a lot of potential, very early aggressive potential that is going to spout from Natalia, being able to get that kill pressure on the board in that early stage. But Evo's Legends are going to be responding with a Matilda last pick here, so giving them a little bit of more mobility, and that might just be what they need.
I love the Matilda pick here coming out of Evo's SG. There's a lot of sticky heroes on the side of Smart Omega. Guiding Wind's gonna be a very easy escape plan. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are ready, and make sure you guys have your snacks in your seats because you're not gonna want to go anywhere. We're about to enter match number 1 of the day. It's going to be Smart Omega going up against Evo's SG.
Ladies and gentlemen, one final look at the drafts here as we go into game number 1. For those of you watching at home, grab your popcorn. For those of you here at MyTech with us, cheer for your respective teams and give them the support they need. Here we go in the Land of Dawn.
Here we go into the Land of Dawn, and need we remind you, this is going to be a best of 5, and whoever can carry it on in this series is going to keep prevailing. And now we can see here on screen, it is going to be the Akai in that jungle position onto Gear.
Certainly a little bit unusual for Evo's SG, but a very solid pick overall. Going to be able to scale up very quickly, hit that level 4, which is what Evo's SG desperately needs in order to make sure they keep Omega at bay. In the early game, all of these tankier heroes on the side of Omega are definitely going to have the advantage, not to mention the Natalia being played by Chak Nu.
Yeah, and if we know the Natalia to, used on their side, they're definitely going for the backline. They know that Adamir and Sayla are their key conditions to win this game, and definitely going to look to shut that down. You can already see rotating downwards, potentially to help out Nick.
There has to be a little bit more emphasis, but wait a minute, E2 Max here gets a little chunked. They're still trading blows here in that mid side, but yes, as I was saying, there needs to be a little bit more emphasis onto Kellera. I think if you let him just scale into that late game, we've seen how much destruction that it can entail. I mean, already a Maniac coming in from Lemon from the side of RQ on this hero, and that is where Chak Nu needs to help out, especially like prevent that damage from happening, but
that's what he's trying to do, pulling out the aggression onto Sayla here, but he retreats just in time to prevent any further aggression. Although the turtle is spawning in about 10 seconds, so Evo's SG does need to start looking at this objective.
Omega already in position down there. It's going to be the turtle pit next to the EXP lane, and since Renzio is obviously ahead of Nick right now, already hitting level 4 on that Masha, it's going to be much easier for Omega here, not to mention Chak Nu continuing to be annoying in the mid lane to just zone them out.
Yeah, and some aggression here onto Renzio, putting out the damage, but it's not enough. Ryzen's still going to take the first turtle off the game, going the way of Omega. I think Evo's actually tried to maybe make a play here in the mid side, but still had to give away that objective.
Really disciplined plays coming in from Omega, a little different to what we're accustomed to. We see them make small mistakes in that early game that eventually cost them the game, but here we go, another pickoff.
Oh, stunned out. Nick has to burn the flicker to be able to get away from this gear. Is here with the heavy spins, hitting Ryzen to the wall. He takes a lot of damage from the turret as well. And will they be able to secure it? It is JPL that ends up with the first blood.
Caster Curse.
Not exactly ideal for first blood to go to JPL. Under those circumstances, I think Evos could have held on just a little bit longer to give the kill over to a core, but still, first blood is first blood, and that's a good catch from the heavy spin gear, instantly using that momentum to actually go into Omega's jungle.
Yeah, Adamir actually trying to take this, still does. Chak Nu just, puts out some disruption here, but managed to steal that buff there.
Yeah, it does seem like he does. He did lose that retribution battle in that turtle pit, but he is trying to look for some compensation on the board, and that's here. I don't think there's anything quite unusual. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is pretty default emblem sets coming out from all the players here. Nothing too out of the ordinary. JPL though going specifically for to pull yourself together here to make sure that he can stay alive. But now the heavy spin from gear onto Kellera gonna be pushing him out of position, and now he's the one in danger from the heavy crossbow as the Aerotel picks up the kill.
That was so...
a little bit aggressive there, I guess, and didn't manage to secure the field, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was really hard to see. I mean, okay, I guess they were trying to look for a pick on the board, but what happened to Chak Nu there? He gets picked off as well. So trades are happening all across the board. It does seem like Omega is slightly leading in economy, but it's not too comfortable. And Evos, they are going to have to wait on this next objective because it is going to be Omega picking up that second turtle.
Yep, really good objective prioritization by Omega here. They know the turtle is coming up. Because of that, they did end up putting Chak Nu up in the top lane. I don't think he was expecting to get sniped in the bush by Adamir, but not too much harm done here. In terms of the items, obviously still quite early in the game. Nothing completed just yet, but Adamir going to actually skip his boots upgrade to go straight for that BOD.
More damage.
Yeah, more damage. And I think it's also because, Kellera has already secured the Windtalker and probably trying to play catch up a little here. Gear, though, deep in the jungle, getting aggressed on by Renzio. Nothing much will happen. He is still Akai, so pretty tanky.
Okay, and we're gonna see what happens here. How are they going to be picking off from this? Because for the moment, Omega is able to just secure all the objectives on the board. They do have, from the side of Evo Singapore, a little bit of more pickoffs, 2-1, but they haven't been able to translate that. So that's something that they really need to consider. And it's quite difficult as Omega is going to be able to scale into that really late game, especially with that Irithel still just vying for more gold.
But the same can be said for Omega and Evo's SG. They both do actually want to scale for that late game. Even though Omega so far has both turtles, Evo's is actually even in terms of net worth, so it's not too big of a deal. But Sayla, nearly getting taken out before the Black Shoes gets popped, will be able to run away from Ryzen and E2 Max, as now the rest of the team is coming in for backup gear. Gonna find Chaknu, not able to push into the tower, but is good enough. Natalia gonna get picked off. JPL using the flicker to escape from Omega.
Oh, that was so good. I mean, Gear recognized that opportunity and went in on it. Sailor, though, in some trouble right here in the mid lane, and now they get this turret completely for free.
Now there it is. There is the Omega that we've been looking for. The pickoffs on the board, the objective. They're so good at being so disciplined. They want to focus on these objectives, and that's exactly what they're going to do. But here, Renzio,
in some trouble here, trying to make his way out to escape E2 Max, fronting some of the damage. Nick has to flicker out, taking too much on his life, and JPL now the next target. Ryzen, he uses this opportunity to secure the turtle for themselves. Now that's 3-0 objectives in favor of Omega.
Omega continuing to maintain their map control here, recognizing the timers on the objectives. You can see that just the way they played and rotate around the map, they're paying a lot of attention to when these turtles will respawn so that they are in better position to take it. Gear now in trouble though, heavy spin has to be used to escape. They still get it, killing spree going over to Kelra.
yeah, it is going to be Gear here getting caught off here for the second time. And it actually is going to be JPL being very pressured there in that bottom side. But now Omega, with all that said and done, they are going to be pushing those waves in the top side. They are leading with a 1,300 gold lead. And Evo Singapore still struggling to look for something across the board.
And I think Changnu has just picked out the Blade of MSCs as well. So he's going to be able to Sailor or Adamir in either of their lanes. So far, Omega has been super disciplined, like you mentioned, Eterna, converting these kills into objectives. Even though they're even across the board, Omega has a lot more control. And right now, Nick in some trouble getting ganked on the top side, but they respond. Gear is here to help, so they don't aggress any much further.
We can see that Omega definitely upping the momentum. They know right now that Kelra is in a very comfortable spot. The Irithel 3-0 KDA, and we already know that Kelra can farm very, very quickly. So this is going to be a problem for Evo's SG very soon, which is why Omega is just distracting them for as long as possible. As long as their attention is on them, it's not going to be on their marksman.
Yeah, they're rotating once again to the bottom side, so they are for the side of Evos, and Evos are only left to respond. But now Sayla here might be a little bit in trouble, but luckily there is backup and they don't want to commit onto this just yet. But you can see the pressure once again happening in that top side. Masha is just getting all those chunky turrets and health here as Adamir is going to be taking his dear time with 100 KDA here in the 8th-9th minute. We need to see him scale a little bit into his next extra items to definitely see the potential that he can have when it comes down to that mid-game.
Yeah, and compared to, I mean, 1-0-0 you mentioned, but on the other hand, Kelra is 3-0-0 as well. So in the late game, this is looking pretty bad for them.
Yeah, definitely. This is not where Evos wants to be right now, but a 2k gold difference at this stage of the game is not actually too bad. They just need to be able to regain momentum. Adamir gonna take the tier 1 tower down bottom. Gear, he's thinking about it. He wants to go for that heavy spin, but it's a bit difficult on Renzio. Both teams are squaring up to take this Lord around the Lord pit.
Yeah, just baiting it out at this moment. Evo's SG taking the position, but Chaknu though in the back line looking to see if he can make a play. Gear goes ahead to start out the fight here. Heavy spin to zone them out, but has to back away. They don't know where Chaknu is. They have to be careful, but Nyx takes too much damage, and in the back line they find Adamir. Chaknu gets a kill onto him. Sayla running for his life, but Kelra manages to secure that as well. 2 down on the side of Evo's SG, split up completely by Omega.
That was just so well played, so well executed by the side of Omega. They were able to bait Gear to be able to, look for some initiative. He gets caught out, they retreat, but unfortunately their positioning was not on point, and Adamir was able to be taken down in the process. And the whole time that Evo Singapore was trying to set up for that Lord, unfortunately, Natalia Chaknu was able to go up into that and manipulate the waves and actually take a turret in the top side.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that observation there. Omega was definitely controlling that fight to make sure that the important cooldowns on the side of Evos were expended before they tried to go on the Lord. E2 Max now already doing a fair amount of damage, stole the black shoes, so able to escape. Heavy spin wasted again from the side of Evos SG.
This is tough, right? I mean, Heavy Spin is a huge ultimate, and it's one of their only, I mean, except for Circling Eagle, kind of engages that Evos SG can use to make a play here. But it's looking difficult as the top side, the Lord is marching down now. They're looking to crash down on the inhibitors. Not going to be able to take one down just yet.
Yeah, not just yet. Still with a 6,000, almost 7,000 gold lead, Omega, they are sitting quite comfortably, almost at 10,000 as well. It is going to be still them being shut down into their own base, but Omega, it doesn't seem they want to go for something crazy. They don't want to make a mistake at this time, understanding that it can be taken back from them, as Adamir here is already, let's see his items here, 2 items in the game, but it's still not enough.
Yeah, if you compare Adamir over to the side of Kelra there, he just completed his Haas Claws, already 4 items. Gear using the heavy spin here for basically no reason. Chaknu able to have a lot of window of opportunity once again.
Yeah, definitely looks, I mean, Adamir doesn't really have as much items here as Kelra, so it's going to be a tough one. And the thing is, Chaknu has been so annoying. Evos SG, they have to look out for him in these team fights, even if they want to engage as well. How are they looking to take these ones?
Yeah, well, that's going to be the huge question here. It does seem they are still trying to manipulate the waves here on all 3 lanes, trying to, you know, just asphyxiate, prevent anything from scaling from the side of Evo Singapore. But at this stage, what are the winning conditions from Evo Singapore?
Right now, they definitely need to play around Adamir. Yes, he's 2 items behind Kelra, but Wesker does still do a lot of damage at this point. The problem is, it's very difficult to do happen to be able to protect the Beatrix well enough. Renzio, Ryzen, they're not going to die very easily, and E2 Max and Kelra are not going to put themselves in a very vulnerable position.
Oh, they find Gear in the jungle here, and he tries to make his way out. Is he going to survive? I think he does live to see another day for now, so Evos SG survived this, but this is untimely. 7 seconds, the next Lord is going to be up.
I mean, at this stage, Evo Singapore, they're scared, right? Even if they want to go for individual plays, try and split up the map, it's difficult because they don't know where Chaknu is. But that fact can be taken into the hands of Omega, and you can see the way that they're just manipulating the waves from all 3 lanes. Oh my god, but wait a minute.
Renzio finds Sayla as well as Adamir in the backline. They heal up just fine now, but this is the pressure, Zaffa, that you talked about. Yes, Chaknu isn't there, but here is Renzio also able to make it all the way into the backline.
Yep, if we look at the overall team composition as well from Omega, as compared to Evos SG, they really do need to be fighting as a 4 or 5 man death ball, whereas on the side of Omega, all of their heroes are capable of holding their own. Even Kelra on the Iritel, thanks to that sprint, should be able to 1v1, 1v2 basically anyone on Evos SG, putting them in a very difficult situation because it is so easy for Omega to just split push all the waves due to their increased mobility and overall lineup durability as well.
Man, Chaknu goes in for that BOD, Scrubby. What is that? Like, you already have so much pressure, so much pickup potential, and you have to give more damage to that?
Yeah, looking at the damage charts, the gold right now, he is, well, somewhere in the middle, but that's gonna even, that's so hard for Evos SG. BOD on a Natalia, if he catches any of them in the backline, that's basically a dead Sayla or Adamir.
Yep, Lord already taking down the top inhibitor as Renzio jumps onto Adamir in the backline just to zone him out. Nick is forced to defend the bottom side as Gear taking a lot of damage. Black Shoes already expended as well. The minion wave will be taken out, but Nick doesn't have enough wave clear speed. He will just barely preserve the bottom inhibitor. And Kelra, he's got a lot of damage. Heavy crossbow already popped down. Gear looking for the heavy spin, but not finding any chances to use it.
That's also the thing about the side of Omega, right? With Kelra on that sprint, it's so difficult to catch him out. The only thing you have is a Circling Eagle and a heavy spin, but so far they've also been using some of that defensively, and it's been tough to engage in or disengage from these team fights.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's no one from the side of Evo Singapore who could actually catch them at face value, but actually here,
gets E2 Max here. He is stunned out and pinned to the wall. Gets that first kill secured now, and now they are looking to re-engage Omega though on the aggression. Adamir in some trouble. Man, it has to be taken down by Chaknu here. They trade out 2 for 1 now, and Evo's SG actually coming on top of this, aggressing onto Ryzen. Is he going to be able to get out? Pops the shoot, Unity, and will be able to retreat.
oh, and what initially was what 6,000 here in the 16th minute, and it does seem like Evo Singapore with that win, they want to push the tempo once again.
Yep.
Renzio dives in with the backline onto Sailor though. Gear with the heavy spin pins him down, manages to peel off for him now, and they safely, I think, no, actually don't disengage. Changnu with the burst damage onto Sailor secures that kill.
A little bit of over-aggression by Evo's SG after their previous victory. We do actually have to be very careful in this team. We already know that they were able to drag out the game to an insane length previously against RRQ and claim victory after that. Omega still needs to be careful, but Ryzen now going to be engaged on by 4 members of Evo's SG. They managed to pick him up. Renzio jumping onto Adamir, and E2 Max picks up the kill on the Beatrix. Here comes Kelra though with heavy crossbow, heavy spin, not going to matter as instantly the remaining members of Evo's SG are decimated by the Irritel.
Oh no, this is not good. Nearly a wiped out here for the side of Omega. And now with the space with only 1 member remaining, they will be able to get this Lord uncontested. 2, 3 members down. Will they be able to defend?
I mean, at this rate, it doesn't seem like it. And now look at the damage output onto Gear here. He's just melted. Kelra with nowhere to go. Changnu comes in, and the burst is enough to take down Sailor once again. It's a complete wipeout on the side of Evo's SG. JPL is back, the only one standing together with Adamir, but the Lord is coming up the top side.
That's just rough for Evo's there. They had the opportunity and it was a good engage, but Kelra just has way too much damage. And now Luminous Lord gonna be pushing up the top lane.
Oh, I don't know if they can defend this. Kelra, the Filipino savage, he's going right for it and dishing out all the damage. Nick sacrifices his life to be able to protect it, but at what cost? It's gonna be the core taken down by Omega, securing their first victory of this series.
A clean game here by the defending champions of game number 1 in our best of 5. And I gotta say, it was Omega being able to get all the initiatives off the board. They set the tempo from the get-go, and it was only Evos being able to kind of, react to it.
Yep, tempo. Going to be the key word between these two teams here. The style of play that you expect from Omega and Evos. Whoever controls that early game momentum is going to have a much bigger advantage going into that mid game. And once that late game comes around, Kelra is going to have a very fun time.
This is what we were talking about, right? Omega is a momentum-based team. They also are super comfortable being in the lower brackets. This is where they thrive. And now let's hand it over to the analyst to break it down for us.
Your analyst reporting in with Getting Q and as well as Leo here at our stage. This is going to be an interesting game here, as we mentioned before, but time and time again, Omega seeming to be a cut above the rest.
Yep, this is the first time in a while that I've seen Omega so methodical. That is the way I can describe in one word this matchup. Very low kill score. Only up until the very last moments of the game did they really pop off the back of Kelra's Irritel.
Yeah, they were popping off quite a bit. And I mean, again, this is a little strange because even before this, I was having a chat with all the Filipino casters and we were talking about the similarities of Omega and as well as Torak. Sometimes they can be a little flippy-floppy, but there's so much similarity. This time, it was different. Against a Singaporean team, they took it nice and slow. They were taking their time and waiting for the right conditions to make things work.
There was but 1 or 2 team fights wherein it was really, really close. And it was awesome to see that Evo's SG could find these punishes. And I'm saying this in the most objective manner, but in the whole time, we will see it on the highlights as well and in the numbers, how it was just all about Kelra waiting in the shadows. He was just waiting, and as soon as they penetrated that top lane inhibitor, the rest just followed.
It's condition and timing. I think those are the two main points that are coming across my mind when we're thinking about the compositions that we saw here today, and I can't wait to see the item build list because I'm curious to be. Quick question to you guys. Did you get your MSC guesses correct? Did you get those sweet guess coins? I'm not sure about you, but you can let us know here at the analyst segment with at Leo, Cass, and as well as at Fatal 5-Way or at Getting Q. Up to you guys. Let us know how much you've got so far. But let's check out the items and break down the compositions.
Quick, there is a Haas clause built here by Kelra, and it's been starting since day one. Group stage of MSC, we've been seeing a lot of that item come out, and on the other side, it's just the Dominus Ice still answering back. Someone's gonna start building more Sea Halberd, man.
Yeah, it's tough, especially since it's really hard to kind of close that distance. But let's talk about the compositions now, right? If we're looking at EVOS SG, they have some good initiation. That first move, can they dedicate the resources when Omega is all about jumping right into the fight?
And the only real thing that EVOS SG was waiting for was a punish, because the whole game was set by Omega. Looking at the objectives, 100%, almost, literally, actually, no lords, no turtles, going over to EVOS SG. And I think one key player that played that role to hold it down was, of course, Ryzen's Baksha and the Etomax. So it's a very mid-lane heavy attack that Omega brought to the table, as well as Chaknu's uncharacteristic Natalia. He was great here in this game, but when you say Mamba, you don't think Natalia.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was thinking about the nicknames that you guys were coming about for the man himself, but let's crunch the numbers here and see how effective he really was. And looking at the stats so far, when you feel like Valentina is getting punished a lot of the time, you don't realize how much damage that she actually gets out as the game goes on. 65,000, not topping Irithel, of course, but even Kelra, those right conditions, right? Oh boy.
Very close, very close. He is just but second to Kelra, who was again the true carry here in this 18-minute bout. As well, something to note here, Gear took so much damage. Akai is so great. I love him in the XP lane. I love him as a roamer. We've seen great roaming Akais from EVOS SG in the past days here at MSC. But here, Gear, especially in the early game, the first 5 minutes, we saw great angles. I think First Blood was drawn off of an amazing heavy spin.
Change and adapt, right? Especially for someone like Chaknu. He was waiting for the right conditions to jump on towards Sayla specifically, and as well as Adamir, something that even JPL was struggling to save his teammates from. So again, very smart play and adaptation coming in from Omega in game, and the compositions were very, very telling. But with that being said, let's see who is the MVP of our game here today. For game number 1 between these two teams, our MVP coming in from Smart Omega, the one, the only, Kelra.
Is the Filipino Savage. Again, nothing new when it comes to his items. It's been a while since we've seen anybody really building Scarlet Phantom and Berserker's Fury. I believe the last time we heard the latter was when Aldous was hot. You put that Berserker's Fury on him. But again, the cream of the crop, the icing of the cake is that Haas clause. It demands your attention.
Exactly, and you can see time and time again, whenever you're looking for a punish onto Kelra, you gotta make sure the timing is just right when you have that sprint and that extra bit of movement speed to charge back up. And with the Haas's claw with some explosive arrow shots, you can just see your life just bump up into the green zone. You never feel like you're in the red.
Yep, really, when it comes to Irithel in this current metagame, watching the best of the best play it. I'm talking Skylar, I'm talking Lemon, I'm talking Kelra. It's kind of the Irithel's fault when she dies. So it's really in your hands. It's all about release control. It's your choice when to go in hard.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at the highlights here one more time as EVOS SG were able to score that first blood. But again, these conditions time after time, splitting up this peel composition from EVOS SG, all very conditional.
Yep, and watching this earlier, I had an epiphany. It's interesting that as Irithel is making it, that plays all the more a huge role on Akai. You have to watch how Akai is, because with heavy spin, there's like this push and pull, this yin and yang, of a hero that can move while attacking and a hero that displaces.
That's true.
They answer each other.
They answer each other. That's a great analysis and a great observation here, Leo. And looking deeply into it, when we're looking at EVOS SG, it becomes a little bit more evident that Gear, he felt that he needed to take the initiative for his team when they could have played a little bit more patiently. Again, you don't want to see from Smart Omega looking for those engages, because in the early game, you saw what happened.
And now going into game number 2, this may be a key for them to improve. EVOS SG, looking at their draft here, last pick Matilda, onto JPL.
That was good.
I'm kind of sad I'm not at the desk because I love seeing me some Matilda getting some kakas in there, but I feel like this may not have been the best answer, especially when you're looking at that last pick. That's one of the strengths of Red Side. I mean, besides you know, waiting for a Valentina trade, you have that last pick to counter everything else. I'm not sure if it was the Matilda.
I don't know. For me personally, I do think that Matilda fulfills that role, especially with the composition when it comes down to peeling, right? JPL got some really good pickups for his Gear. But hey, game 2 is about to go on its way. With that being said, let's go and throw it over to Mara first before we jump into game number 2.
Thank you, Leo and Gideon. We learned a lot from our analyst stand. But now, I'm curious as to how EVOS SG is feeling right now. So we're gonna go in their players' room. They looked really calm earlier, very serious. Let's take a peek. There they are. Hi, guys. Hello. Okay. Soul, is it okay if I talk to you for a bit? Okay. We just surprised them right there. They're like, what is she doing here? Soul, okay, there you go. Let's close it so they don't hear us. How was that game 1? You guys are doing the huddle right now. And what's being discussed at this moment?
I think it's evident from game 1 that we were quite even all the way to the mid-game. It's always been the fight, so fights didn't go as planned, and yeah, we try and work on the fights, take better fights.
You did mention it was pretty even in the middle, and then it was your opponent was able to turn it around. Now, did anything surprise you? Anything catch you by surprise there?
I think maybe Chaknu or Nutella, because I think everyone knows that he's a very good engaging tank, but he's now playing the assassin, so yeah, I would think that they will prioritize more Atlas and Kufra for him, but he plays well on Nutella as well.
And I know you also have somebody there, Matthew. He does motivate the team a lot. What did he say to the team coming into game number 2?
Yeah, I think he made the team realize that it's really game 2. Anything can happen. Yeah, we just have to bring out A game.
Now, so a lot of the viewers are wondering, you played for SEA Games and you did really well. A lot of people are actually hoping that you get to play for MSC. How come you're not playing this time around?
Yeah, younger players shine. Yeah, we have Nick that's on XP now and he's only 17. He's been doing really well this entire MSC, and I would like to see him go from here.
Thank you so much, Sol. Good luck on game number 2. Sol, the team manager for EVOS SG. And now, let's head on over to our casters.
Welcome back to the desk, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I'm Scrubby Cheeks. Here with me is Eterna as well as Dafa. Now, we've just seen well, disappointing for me match for EVOS SG because they lost, but I think it was very well played by Omega, of course. And like Sol said, they actually didn't really expect that Natalia pick to come out, so it took them by surprise a little bit.
Come on, Scrubby, don't be too sad. It's a best of 5. They still have a lot more chances. Come on, keep the spirits up, guys. I think we need to cheer for Scrubby in the comments. Save Scrubby or something like that.
Not Scrubby. I mean,
Hashtag
I'm not the one
Scrubby.
playing. Save
She needs your support.
Most definitely.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think that was quite surprising as well, because when we think back, like, okay, Chaknu, Chak Mamba with the red hair, how does he like to play? He always goes in for those really like Kufra, Atlas type of heroes, and I guess that's how far they've been saving those really safe picks, as well as the hidden strategies coming from them.
Yeah, but you know, these are exciting things, like hidden things coming out, and you definitely want to stay tuned to all of this action. So you will be able to catch that on EGG Network. Shout out to our official media partner. They are Southeast Asia's 24/7 esports channel under the Astro Malaysia Group, and you can catch this entire tournament, MSC 2022, on the EGG Network channel 800 in the comfort of your own home. Also check out their social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter.
Yep, but don't forget that you can check out this as well, guys. That is going to be MLBB X Transformer skins that are now available, like the Starscream skin. And you guys can perform these draws from July 7th and until July 7th for chances to win awesome rewards, including the Rogers Grimlock. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah. Is very cool. I do like it a lot. Obviously, being able to turn into a dinosaur and start eating people is obviously.
I wish I could do that.
I think that's every man's dream,
every
right
man's
there.
dream
That's like
turn
every
into a
every
dinosaur.
boy's dream on the land of Dawn to turn into a
Sorry,
dinosaur.
wait, what?
Every man's
Every
dream to turn
boy's
into a
dream
dinosaur.
is to turn into a dinosaur
And eat people.
and
Yes.
eat people.
I think
Quoted
if you
by
go into the
Staffa.
crowd and find any like small boy and ask him, "Do you want to be a dinosaur?" 80% they will say yes.
They should make a movie out of that. You know, Frozen's be like, "Do you want to be a snowman?" And they make a. Do you want to be a dinosaur?
But yes, so now we are just about to enter game number 2 here between Omega from the Philippines as well as EVOS representing Singapore. Now, if you guys think about it, right? What can EVOS improve? Staffa.
That's an interesting question here. Definitely gotta improve on the draft a little bit, as we already highlighted. Omega caught them off a little bit here. So now that we are entering the draft phase for game number 2, I'm expecting them to shift things up. They gotta be able to draft heroes that are able to control that early momentum a little bit more effectively.
But at the same time, they also have to be careful of, you know, the normal heroes that Omega has potential to exert a lot of things on, and that's Franco, Julian. So they're running the same bans as before. Don't really have space to navigate that much. What do you think, Eterna?
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening right now. And what surprises me as well is that Omega's actually opted to stay in that first pick position. So now we're going to see that the 1-1 has been banned away once again. So still exactly the same bans. And if pattern the Yeet as well as that Ling ban, unless they want to switch things up. Do you think a Natalia ban is too expensive in that first phase?
That's a good question here. Under normal circumstances, yes, a Natalia ban would be more expensive. It's not usually a hero you want to prioritize for banning out in the first phase, but when you are up against players that can really make a lot happen with that hero, and you don't have a player that can do the same on your side, then you do have to make a bit of a choice. Omega, though, gonna be shifting things up a bit. This time, they ban out the Valentina themselves.
That's interesting. I mean, they actually first picked the Valentina in the previous game, but this time they're opting to take that out. Does that kind of hint at something that they're going for here?
I mean, maybe they want to leave more options on the board, like the Ling is going to be left open because most probably this is going to be perhaps an Akai ban, maybe. I don't know. Does EVOS want to respect it once again from the side of Ling? Is that too expensive? As you know, we haven't even seen the Xavier in the first game, and it's quite surprising because usually people like to use these, teams likes to use these for several different type of reasons, the burst, the visibility. But yes, like we mentioned, it's going to be the Akai being banned away here for the second, and that leaves open. I was gonna say the Beatrix, but it's going to actually be the Masha first pick here for the side of Omega.
So Omega here instantly trying to make this second draft as confusing as possible. They are not falling back into the same habits they had in game number 1. Ordinarily, yes, you would think that they'd prioritize the Beatrix, they would prioritize the Ling since that was let through the ban this time, but going for the Masha is actually quite smart here because it doesn't allow EVOS SG the opportunity to counter draft, because this hero is just always going to be good, very durable, very good at split pushing. It does not reveal what Omega is trying to go for yet.
And I think especially against EVOS SG, that's pretty dangerous because Masha, the ability to split push in a later game shuts down EVOS if they have a backup plan B. They like to play the game and zoom out and look at what they can do across the map. And having that Masha just disrupting that approach will be pretty difficult for them. Right now, EVOS though is opting to pick up again priority on Beatrix for Adamir, but this time Nick on the Grok.
Yeah, I mean, last time they picked up that Beatrix, it was so unfortunate. Damage output was definitely not there. The way that Omega was playing to be able to really inhibit any kind of aggression that could potentially sprout from her. But now Omega with the second pick, it is going to be the Yves. So they do have a good amount of utility with that crowd control. It is a slow, not a stun, but it does give them a bit of an opportunity in case they want to go for a 5v5 team fight composition.
This is very smart coming out of Smart. Following it up instantly with the Irritel, not giving EVOS any chance to ban that out in the second phase. We're instantly seeing why Omega didn't go for the Eve ban this time, as they're able to lock it in themselves. But I do think this is actually a little bit of a pivot from their mindset. I think they were expecting EVOS to be the ones to lock in the use it to counter attack and pick up heroes that would play against that Eve. Since they noticed EVOS, they didn't lock it in for themselves. Not only can they lock it in for themselves, they've already seen the Grok. This will possibly go into the roam or the EXP lane position, but if it is put in the roam position, this is a hero that has to use the ultimate to cancel the real-world manipulation, and that allows them to play more carefully around EVOS' cooldowns.
Oh, it's going to be the Benedetta gear right now. Most likely, it's going to be that. And Nick, probably on the Grok. I think this is kind of the draft that they ran against RRQ Hoshi in the game that lasted, I don't know, the longest game so far in MSC. So this is really interesting. Eterna, any thoughts?
Wait, didn't they win that one?
They did.
Oh my, okay, so EVOS, they're like, okay, Omega 1 point, but now we're going all out. So the pocket strats are starting to show here with Benedetta being chosen here for the side of EVOS. But now we are going to the second phase, and they are understanding that Omega has not picked it up for themselves. The Karina ban comes through, as well as that Esmeralda, so denying any force that of course could be a good level against that Masha. But of course they do still have an option to pick up the Uranus as well. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight about EVOS' last draft is that they relied heavily onto one person to make those initiating plays, which was the Akai. But time and time again, Akai gear, he in for the kill, he gets bursted down from the damage coming from Omega, and then they are left with no other choice. Like, the circling eagle was not a really good option that they could actually take. So coming to this next draft, I do wish for a little bit more variance in that. Sure, you do have Grok to be able to make those plays, but it can be a hit or miss. Maybe look for some.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. EVOS definitely need more playmakers right now, and while the Benedetta worked out for them previously, I am a little bit worried because this is a hero that does lack crowd control against some of the heroes Omega is playing. But it is able to match up in terms of split pushing with the Masha, so not a bad choice by EVOS. The fact that they have banned out the Natalia here indicates that they are more worried about this pick as compared for Omega, which actually is still open.
Yeah, I really love the Natalia ban. When you were talking earlier about, you know, how Omega managed to pick up the Eve and not EVOS SG, I feel like it's because, you know, EVOS SG, they're kind of afraid to pick up Sailor's hero because the Natalia was still open. I mean, we've seen them run the Cyclops before as well, so potentially they might have wanted to wait out that Natalia. Instead, they were going to ban it out, and right now they are picking up the Lolita to add to that. So Eterna, to your point on initiation, this definitely adds a lot.
Are they listening to us? Are they eavesdropping? Coach, come on, stop eavesdropping. We were just... I like this though, right? It gives them more opportunity to look for plays on the board, because let's say Grok misses it, like the wild charge.
Yep.
And then you can come in with the Numnon Blast to seal the deal, or maybe both works, and then it goes to a wombo combo. So many options on the board, but as I speak about so many options from the side of Omega, they have opted to go 1v1 in that assassin role. It is going to be the Lancelot pickup here for the side of Ryzen, as well as that Cho for Kufra. And guys, this is Chuck Mama's Kufra.
It's gonna be very interesting to watch out for. Yeah, as you mentioned, the Cho going to be a very strong initiating force for the side of Omega. Obviously, the Shunpo also allows him to be able to play against some of the disables coming out of EVO's SG. And as for the jungler, quite unusual, actually going for the Lancelot here. We have seen this here and there, but definitely not a common pickup. It's gonna come down to mechanics to dodge out these big ultimates coming out of EVO's SG.
Yeah, but it's actually a Kagura pick now to seal this draft for EVO's SG to round that up. Eterna, you look really excited about this one.
Do you remember the last time we saw Sayla on the Kagura and instantly we saw so many respect band towards it? He's so good at his positioning. He can find those momentums, find a way to group them up into one and just go in for that yin-yang overturn that eventually is able to burst and deal so much damage to take maybe 2 or 3 members from the side of the opponent.
I think undoubtedly this is going to be a very exciting game number 2, as now we're going to be looking once again at the hero lineups from both teams. Currently, EVO's SG 1 game down here in the lower brackets, best of 5. Will they be able to even things up? We will find out as we now return to the Land of Dawn.
If you know EVO's SG, you know they're not gonna give up, but at the same time, Omega gonna put on a fight for us. So here it is, the Land of Dawn, game number 2 between Omega and EVO's. The blue side and EVO's on the red.
Before we begin, I want to ask you a question, right? When we take a look at both compositions, who has the better early game? Because they both have assassins. We do have Sayla on the Kagura as well as that Eve from the side of Omega, but now it's a little bit different, right? Because both Cho as well as Lolita are going to rely on that level 4.
I think personally, Omega is going to have the slightly better early game, simply because Iriatel comes online faster than Beatrix, and they have more damage overall in their team composition with the Lancelot as well as the durability of the Masha. But it is not by much though. EVO's SG can definitely take control of the map with this Grok and Lolita combo.
Trying to invade here onto Ryzen's jungle. Doesn't seem like they got it. Stunning out Chaknu, putting up some damage. And we talked about this Ryzen pick on the Lancelot. How do you think about it? I mean, whoa, in the meantime though, Adamir, just one flicker away, almost fell down there as first blood.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting question here with Active because yes, after all, nowadays Assassin's not quite as effective as before, with certain exceptions like the Ling due to how well he can scale into the late game, but Lancelot doesn't quite have that same advantage, which means that Ryzen definitely needs to make something happen early on or the hero falls off quite quickly.
I mean, the same can be said for the Benedetta, no? But of course, we'll see how it goes back down to the execution, because now we can see that the turtle has and already is starting to show in the Land of Dawn, and it seems like both teams want to be contesting for this.
Yeah, putting out some damage here onto Omega just to, you know, put them back a little bit. Ryzen is at half health, so not in a great spot to contest this turtle here, but he does have those iframes. Renzio causing some trouble here in the backline, taking the damage. Nick, though, is in some trouble, has to flicker out, but the real manipulation gets cancelled back in there by JPL, and they manage to secure this objective for themselves. They go on and get one to E2 Max. The wall chart comes in, so does the way of Dragon though, and they manage to get gear in that process. Sayla extremely low. Changnu looking for the kill. The flicker will get him that one.
Wow, what just happened? What just happened in that particular team fight? It just seemed like trades going after trades. People, they understood their conditions, and Chaknu just goes into the backline understanding the damage output that Sayla can have, and he got eventually traded out.
Yeah, just a good identification by EVO's SG early on to be able to take out Omega in that fight, but they definitely overextended a little bit too far, and it ended up costing them a little bit more than they would like to. Looking at the items here, obviously still quite early in the game, but Adamir going to be going for that same build, skipping the boots upgrade for that BOD. It does look like Nick is going to be going for the same item as well.
Yeah, I mean, right now, how you said that they had the better early game advantage, and looks like they're pressing it around. Real world manipulation coming out, put out to Sayla. JPL knocked out as well, taking the damage. Way of the Dragon will be able to take completely good care of him to put him down.
Man, a really good engage there from the side. Omega being able to get more pickoffs on the board. And this is so different to game number 1, right? We saw them kind of go head to head, but this is Omega leading once again, but now this time in terms of kills. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to trade it for objectives, so we'll see what happens as it is still under 5 minutes.
Yeah, even though they don't on this though, Omega are definitely very happy with this because again, their main win condition is going to be on Kelra. As long as they continue to give space to this Irritel, it will scale up to the point where it becomes an absolute monster in the late game. Watch out though, Chaknu.
Yeah, right now they are aggressing in the jungle as well. E2 Max is the first to go. Evos SG getting those pickoffs as they need. And right now they have the advantage to take this turtle. It is finally, well, one objective again, adding to their name. Chaknu hanging out in the vicinity here. Ryzen using that iframe to escape the damage, but it's not enough to be able to contest this one.
One thing that I noticed about the emblems is that E2 Max has opted to go for that magic shock, whereas Sayla doesn't go for that, right? He goes in for additional damage, and that kind of means that E2 Max will have a better time at scaling faster as compared to Sayla, who is now focusing way more onto damage.
Yeah, I think we could see the focus on damage from Sayla though, especially considering that he did go execute on the Kagura as well. We've seen before that Sayla is able to bring back these games on the brink due to these big burst catches. But speaking of catching, Gear now going to be the target of the real world manipulation. Really nice juking to get out of that.
This is why Gear plays the Benedetta. He is so slippery and it's so difficult to catch him out. But yeah, when you were speaking about Sayla, he basically plays Kagura like an assassin. He just builds the damage, goes in the backline, bursts you down when he comes out of the bushes.
Yeah, so it only needs one great engage either from Nick or even JPL to be able to make that happen. Omega really needs to be this, and that makes sense as considering E2 Max has actually opted for that Purify spell.
He's definitely aware of the fact that there's a lot of options for Evos SG to be able to jump onto him when he pops that real-world manipulation. That's why the Purify is very good for countering things like the Wild Charge. But I do think that in that late game, Sayla will probably to catch the Irritel in the Yin-Yang overturn. And if they use the Kagura to burst down the marksman, they can save Grok for other players on the side of Omega.
And we've seen that sprint on Kelra as well was extremely devastating to the side of Evos, especially when he scaled into the later parts of the game. It was so difficult to catch him out. Hopefully that Wild Charge will be able to help pull off that in this game, but now the teams, they are setting up for this next objective just coming up, but you can see both Ryzen and Gear wanting to take it.
Oh no, it seems like Chakno is going to look for engage. He actually goes back, but what is going to happen here as Ryzen gets caught?
Then manages to secure the turtle here, and Evos SG, the Numenon Blast connects, Gear goes in, but they counter-engage here. Kelra with the damage, again dodging and putting out those bullets, together with E2 Max's real manipulation. They take out 2 members of Evos SG. Adamir trying to get a return kill here with the defeat. Puts him down.
1 for 3 exchange there in that particular event, and it is going to be Omega winning that out. And once again, Kelra has successfully scaled into that mid game. I mean, 3-0-2 here on that Irritel as compared to Adamir, who was still sitting to a 0-1-0. Coming into this matchup, there was so much emphasis on that gold lane between Omega as well as Evo Singapore. We see time and time again that it is going to be either Kelra or even Adamir being that main core focus for both teams. But once again, like in game number 2, a little deja vu moment that Kelra seems to be on top and it seems like Adamir is going to be falling behind.
Yeah, very difficult for him here as Chaknu looking for Nick, gonna have a little bit of difficulty there while Renzi was actually dealing with the bottom side. Numenon Blast has to be used to save Adamir, but will it be enough to protect him from Ryzen, who comes in with the Phantom Execution for a solid kill?
Great rotation there by Ryzen, and JPL unfortunately just burning that ultimate in time. What we once used wasn't able to protect Adamir anymore, and in the meantime, Way of the Dragon comes. The Wild Charge defensively to disengage from that fight.
Man, we were just talking about Adamir and another pickoff. happen right after. I mean, 0-2-0 right now. He is not having a good time. And even if we took a little peek into the items, it did seem like Keller already had 2 items above Adamir, who only had 1. Now Omega sitting at a 4,000 gold lead in the 8th minute. They are going to be circling around this next neutral objective in that first Lord.
I think based on the skirmishes we've seen, we have to talk a little bit about playstyle compatibility between these two teams, because EVOS SG is a team that really likes to play this death ball style. They feel safest engaging when they are nearby each other, whereas Omega has a very good time controlling the map by splitting up fights and of fighting that EVOS SG wants to target, which is why so far Omega is able to control the flow of these battles a lot better.
Yeah, Omega tried to go for the concealed play there, but they found Nick and decided to call it off. But EVOS SG, I think they recognize what you're saying, Staffa. They're trying to group up and get those huge team fights, because that's what their draft is also geared for. The huge Numenon Blast, the Wild Charge, that's what we were expecting. Instead, we're seeing the reverse. Changnu, one way off the Dragon, comboed with that real-world manipulation to be able to pull off that team fight. EVOS SG looking to handshake this conceal play again, going on to Changnu, but likewise, they could not find the opportunity.
Yeah, both teams are still dancing practically at this stage, looking for engages. Both teams can't find the opportunity. But like we mentioned before, it is going to be Renzio here being able to get a lot of pressure in that top side, maybe even taking that turret for himself. Gear is trying to kind of duplicate that problem, but the issue is Gear can't do that all day long, right? If they want to be contesting for those objectives, that's going to be Omega in the upper hand, because Masha doesn't have the Retribution spell.
Yeah, especially when you consider as well that Gear is needed for EVOS SG's team fight and Renzio is not. So Omega are very comfortable just leaving him and Sayla getting taken out. Way of the Dragon gonna find JPL as the Wild Charge connects onto Kelra. Adamir jumping forward with the shotgun, gonna be able to finally find this Irritel. But here comes the real world manipulation, already cancelled by JPL, but it is too late to save Nick from the clutches of Changnu, as Renzio, they also pick off the double kill. Omega in full control.
Clean game.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate. I mean, they found picks one by one, and I think at some point it just felt like EVOS was giving up. I mean, they just tried to distract them, and now Omega has the Lord in their hands. They're gonna be able to start pushing up on these lanes.
I mean, a 3-for-1 trade. 3 members for the side of Kelra. You know, if we don't talk about the specifics, maybe it was worth it, but it's not. But maybe it was worth it. I mean, Kelra, he was sitting at a 3-0-4. What was his KD in the first game? I don't even remember. But he's always been able to be such a very reliable gold laner, dishing out the damage when his team needs it the most. And now we're going to take a look at the instant replay here by TikTok. When that team fight went down, the real world manipulation opened up. It did so much damage. It was able to get cancelled, but unfortunately, it was just too late. And now we can see that the Lord is going to be marching in that top side, and this might be once again the final stand coming in from EVO Singapore.
It's gonna be quite difficult for them. Although Gear has the highest damage, the rest of Omega are definitely in a much better position. They're now looking for the conceal play. Wild Charge gonna miss entirely, and here comes the real world manipulation.
Oh, the knockout onto Nick and JPL, and now they are in some serious trouble here. They managed to secure 2 kills already. Omega pressing their lead here. EVOS SG busy defending from the Lord here, and now they have the opportunity to counter engage. Tries to go onto Kelra, but Sayla gets put down instead, and Gear follows as well. They are dropping one by one, and Adamir is next. Ryzen tries to get the kill onto it, but it's going to be Renzio coming with the killing blow. Unfortunately, a complete wipeout on EVOS SG.
Side of EVOS SG, Omega, they are going very heavily onto that bottom turret. It does seem like Nick is going to be spawning as well as JPL, but Omega, they don't want to close it. They want to play the discipline game. They are going to be retreating and looking and maybe buying time for that next Lord to spawn.
Part of me does wonder whether or not this is a little bit too safe from Omega, considering that, yes, while EVOS SG is respawning, it is only going to be JPL and Nick for quite a while. I feel like they could have pushed a little bit further, but I think they were just lacking the minion waves to do so. So very good discipline from the Filipino team right now. They want to make sure they could secure this game to victory and not give EVOS any chance to retaliate.
It really looks like they're suffocating out of this. I mean, they're being suffocated out of this. At this point, Omega is just pushing their lead again and again. 45k up against 36. That's a good 10k gold ahead of them.
That's comfortable lead, right, Scrubby? Comfortable lead. And as you can see there, Ryzen already securing that BOD for just a little bit of additional damage. They are leading. It isn't too expensive of an item. But once again, both teams are going to start setting up for this next Lord. The question is, how will Evo Singapore maneuver around the situation? How are they going to set up? Because every time they go for an engage, it just is able to get spun around to the hands of real-world manipulation that always works like a charm.
Typically, when you find yourself behind at a 9k deficit, it becomes almost impossible to make the comeback unless your opponent makes a massive mistake. And I don't think Omega is going to be putting themselves in that sort of position right now. But Chaknu and Renzi were just zoning them out in the backline.
Yeah, they can't contest this. Gear is not here, but Nick has kicked down way back in by the way of the dragon, and they go in deep for Sayla as well. Manages to get and finish him off. Adamir in some trouble. Can he get out? Numenor Blast is building to it. Manages to stun out Renzio, and they do get the counter kill onto him instead. Kelra comes in with the bullets, doesn't manage to save that kill. Gear coming from the back now, trying to make the best of the situation. They got a return kill here, consolation prize, but JPL is in some trouble. They trade out for Kelra, so Evo's actually just still trying to defend his gear, buying as much time as he can in the backline. Ryzen chases him down. iframe's not going to be able to save him.
Can we take this moment to appreciate Adamir, the way that he was able to just outmaneuver everything that was thrown at him? The last snipe that came in onto Kelra that eventually sealed the deal. He was so behind early game up until this moment, but he is still able to stay relevant in the game. A 4-3-0 KDA does not reflect the amount of impact he has, as he was able to buy so much time for the side of Evo Singapore.
Oh, the wild charge and the flicker by Nick. They are fighting right now, but Gear is the one to go down first. Adamir Ryzen claims his life, and they are going to move on to the core and clean up this match 2-0.
Match point for the Singaporean representatives. This is the last chance that they have to be able to come back, understanding that Omega has already swept a 2-0 in this matchup.
Very handy victory, might I add. Full control over the flow of battle, full control over the land of Dawn. This is exactly the style of gameplay that Smart Omega wants to play around, and they are the ones making it so that Evo's SG has to adapt to their style or go home.
Smart Omega really looks like a different team today. I mean, we talked about how their team fights were scrappy, you know, and it was really, really messy, but right now they look so discipline, waiting for the opportunity, waiting for Evos to engage, and they counter-engage and get the better of these fights.
Pressure. It's the pressure, man. It's the pressure. We talk about Smart Omega time and time again, how they need to find that. Look at the analyst, take it away.
Thanks, Caster's Desk. Once again, the post-analysis with me, Gideon Kuhn, as well as Leo, to break it down to you for game number 2. And the Filipinos continue to rejoice.
Yep, it's cleaner and cleaner as it gets. Looking at game number 1, comparing it to how they performed here in this game, it looks like Omega may have put Evos into a corner even before match point.
Yeah, I think this is one of the few games that people are going to clip a lot to show how to punish a team. These are some of the hardest punishes we've seen throughout the tournament. Simple moves and simple engagements have been turned around, and salvage situations turned into advantageous moments for Omega.
Looking at how Evos SG drafted, it seemed like put in a mental state wherein they needed to draft half the meta, half comfort. Nothing wrong with that, but when you're looking at Omega, who again is so good at punishing, not just in game, but even in the draft, Coach Bakbet put on his coat today, and he felt like he wanted to stay in MSC 2022. Looking at the draft, first pick Masha, pickups from the Kings of Sea, and at that moment, after the Kagura pick, which you were wondering, what's Sayla thinking here? It was just evident in the gameplay that Yeah, it seemed like EVOS SG wanted to do something, but I think it was mentioned on the caster's desk, it was too much of a good thing that they wanted to do, and it needed to happen immediately and all at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, looking at just the compositions alone, Sayla could have easily gone for a Xavier or even a Lilia, both of which could have been hit really hard by Renzio's pick of the Masha. I think Omega had a really good idea and understand the limitations that EVOS SG were struggling in that matchup when EVOS was up against RRQ. Adamir picking up this Beatrix time and time again has a clear way and opens up a huge path for the rest of the team to start engaging, especially for Ryzen.
And the space that Renzio bought for Omega was just all the more made evident by how well Chaknu played. 2-0 and 14. I think the one thing that the Mamba presented here and provided for his team, looking at his KDA and looking at the gameplay, was just clear vision. EVOS SG, specifically JPL, was walking in the bushes that he would not have known if there was someone there from Omega, 2 or 3 maybe different members. And I think they misplaced that. I think in gameplay, it was misplaced, the duty of vision, because looking at the game, it was more of Gear, who was just hiding in these bushes, making sure. And I think Kelra knew what was up. There was a moment in the early game wherein Kelra did not force.
I mean, that's the beauty of Benedetta. Fast rotations, has an eye for eye, which can get her out of some tight spots. And I think there's just a lot of importance that JPL must cover the entirety of the more squishier members of the team, like Adamir. And they wanted to make sure, hey, if we give Sayla something like Lilia, he has an easy way to escape, but his HP is too low against someone like Irithel. If we give him Xavier, then JPL must extend his coverage. And there's only so much a single Lolita could do.
And look, the Ryzen, again, there is this stat called gold per minute per damage dealt. You got to divide those two things. There's another stat for that. And he farmed the hell out of the map on that Lancelot. MPL Philippines Season 8, I'm looking back that far, where Omega finished 3rd place. In the debut season of this rookie Ryzen then, now he went back to an old love here, an old flame. It's that Lancelot. He did so well. But I'm wondering now, who could be MVP? Because Omega played so well.
It's true. Let's have MVP of this match coming in from Omega itself in game number 2. It is, of course, Chaknu, the one who salvages situations like no other and opens up a lot of pathways, making sure that Renzio's plays are going to be impactful.
Yep, far from salvaging. That's the last thing that he wants to do, and the last thing he did in this game. Very few times Omega found themselves in a bad spot. He was actually setting up nice Way of the Dragons. He wouldn't mind kicking the Grok up. Usually, if you find the Grok and you hit him with the Way of the Dragon, you're like, could have been better. But now here against Nick, he would take it like 5 out of 7 times. I will take it, man.
He presses these advantages in very interesting ways, and his mechanics alone has gotten him quite a lead for a support. When you compare his items in comparison to someone like JPL, yes, JPL's got the base stats, but Cho just had the items to back him up to survive some tighter situations. It's some great play.
2-0 and 14. The way that Chaknu played this game, he was so comfortable, he was so in the zone, he was in his skin, and no one can tell him otherwise. He was playing maybe, you know, the worst 2 or 3 heroes.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And I think Omega are in prime position here now that they are game point. There's a lot of pressure and a lot of confidence that needs to be given to EVOS SG if they are looking to bounce back with that. With that being said, if in case you just watched, let's have a look at the highlights here to see it happen all over again.
Here we see early game, about 2 minutes. It was a great trade. Again, potential for what EVOS SG could be bringing to the table. But the scramble, it was under Omega's turret. So yeah, again, early game, the punish is coming through. And look at Chaknu, man. Look at Chaknu. You can feel, look, he's so cold. Look at him. He knows he could get him.
Yep, he's not even sweating in these situations. But just notice the linear play coming in from EVOS SG and the way that Omega is taking full advantage. They know for a fact they are going to be playing for Kelra's lane, and they are ready to pounce.
Yep, and later on you'll see that even in these cross-map plays, it started with just about 2 versus 3s, skirmishes across the map, but now they're playing the whole map because, again, Renzio's Masha is all the way across. EVOS just has to make a decision. Is it worth it to go over there, send someone? Potential, and that's what they were trying to go for.
Yep, I mean, just the combination of the Eve as well as the Irithel poses a lot of problems, right? Who do you really prioritize? Must you stop the real-world manipulation and give yourself up for a big flank from Irithel, or do you try and take out the Irithel, but still get caught in the kill zone of the real manipulation, especially once you're that late into the game with 3 items already complete, 4th on the way? I think it's just a very difficult situation for EVOS SG.
Yep, you brought up a very important point. The way that Etomax, the captain of Omega here, played that Eve was more than just worth the damage. It was actually zoning. He was actually saying, all right, EVOS SG, take the fight here, you lose. Send it elsewhere, I got my boy Kelra waiting. So it was a do or die. It was damned if you do, damned if you don't.
It's dynamic, and I think that's the most important thing that we're seeing from a lot of teams here at MSC. The more dynamic you are, the more ways that you can actually force out resources from your opponent and maximize your own usually is going to turn up the victors. And even when we come down to the MVPs, compared to local scenes, significantly lower when it comes down to the goal per minute compared to, like, we've seen some crazy numbers, even in the Philippines, like going over to 1,000 and even consistently 875 at the very least.
Which also, I guess, speaks of how well even the losing teams respond. This right here was EVOS SG drafting partly for comfort, and you saw how Gear was actually getting away with most things.
Yeah, with that being said, let's throw it over to Mara for the post-interview.
Thank you, Leo and Gideon. Now I'm here, and I'm gonna pick the loud ones because earlier, these guys were really loud. Let me hear you again. So they're waving the Filipino flag right now. Hi! Hello! How old are you? How old? 4. How old?
4.
4 years old! Oh my gosh! Mommy! Mommy! Can I sit beside you, Mommy? Can I sit beside both of you? What's her name? What's your name? What's the name? Jaden! Mommy! So you brought your daughter with you, Jaden? Oh, son! Son! You brought your son with you, Jaden? Just really of a fan of Mobile Legends that you brought your son here with you.
Actually, my sister is the biggest fan of Mobile Legends. Since she came here, she's a tourist, so I brought her here.
Tourist from where?
Philippines.
Oh, you came from Philippines also. Wait, it just so happened, coincidence, that did you come here just for the tournament or you were already here?
Coincidence.
So how long have you been in Malaysia?
About 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. Cuento, tell us a story. How do you love Malaysia right now? What have you been doing here?
Actually, it's my second time in Malaysia, so I'm really excited. So, taas ano po, may MSC pa, coincidence. Syempre, I'm delighted po.
You're delighted. Come sit beside me. Okay, so what have you visited here in Malaysia? So for the ones that don't know, what are the most beautiful places here?
KLCC so far.
I haven't been there. It's nice.
Yes po.
What's your favorite Malaysian food?
Nasi lemak.
That sounds pretty good. Do you hear the crowd? They love it. They love it. Okay, let's talk about the players of Smart Omega. Let's take a look. What do you have in here? Go Baby Ryzen! Crush mo. That's your crush.
Crush ko po, pero mas bata yun sa akin. Crush ko sa pagkukor.
Okay, she said, Ryzen is my crush, but he's much younger than me, so he's my crush doing the core role. What role do you play when you play Mobile Legends?
Multi-role po.
Multi-role. Wow. Ryzen! I feel like Ryzen's still single, so yeah. Ryzen! Ayun, Ryzen! I'm here to see you, Ryzen. Say this to him.
Go Baby Ryzen!
Wow. You're blushing. I can see you're blushing under the mask. Okay, I'm gonna go over here. Thank you, Mommy. Thank you. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm gonna sit beside you right here. So what are you guys doing in Malaysia?
OFW.
OFW, Overseas Filipino Workers. Wait a minute. What's the date today? Thursday? Aren't you guys supposed to be at work?
We take leave.
Oh, wow, absent. Okay, we're gonna hope that your boss is not watching this right now. Who's your favorite player?
Gufra.
Kufra? Okay, favorite player.
Chaknu, I love you.
Chaknu! Chaknu! Okay, how about you? Favorite player?
Kelra.
Calra! Oh, I saw something here. Let's see.
Si Filipino Savage, syempre. Kelra. Young Ace yan, Young Ace.
Filipino Savage! Lots of fans right here. All right, I'm gonna get you guys to do a cheer, okay? Just to pump up Smart Omega some more. When I say one shot, what are you gonna say?
Omega.
Okay, Omega. Okay, we're gonna do this. One shot. Omega! One more time. One shot.
Omega!
Let's go over here. Let's take a look. Okay, you know what? You guys are both waving different flags. Are you Malaysian?
Yes.
Malaysian? Malaysian?
Yes.
Evos SG, Smart Omega. You guys are friends.
Yes.
Okay, well, what's gonna happen here? You guys are voting for different teams.
What?
You're voting for different teams. So, are you guys fighting?
Yes.
Yes. La? Okay, Jer. Yeah. Okay. Have fun, guys. Have fun. Oh, okay. Now I think the casters are ready. So let's go back to the game and let's head on over to the casters.
Thank you, Mara. That was awesome. The Omega fans in the house, man, and they are looking great and really happy that their team has been winning 2 of the games so far.
100%. You can feel the passion, you can feel the support as well. It's just a shame that you're not there, like cheering for Evos as well. Because I know you would be like you'd be screaming.
Who would I be screaming?
Everyone was screaming, Chaknu, Calra, I love you, Chaknu, I love you. What about you, Scrubby?
I think I would go with Sayla. You know, he makes the plays all the time.
Okay. Sayla, I love you.
I mean, like, you would say,
dash Scrubby.
I'm like, damn.
But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, there was that one moment in that top side where he was able to take that yin-yang overturn onto 3 core members from the side of Omega. Now, that was a huge play. Unfortunately, there was no follow-up to back that up. So I'm not sure what's going on. Is the synergy off? Is the spirit off? Or is the chemistry off? Because we need all of those 3 things to be in prime condition. Because once again, guys, to remind you, we are at match point.
Yes, of course. For those of you who may just be online, this is going to be the 3rd game of our first match of the day. Currently, Smart Omega from the Philippines are 2 games up on Evos SG. This is, of course, a lower bracket best of 5. So, if Smart Omega were to emerge victorious in the next game, we will be sending home yet another Singaporean representative.
You can see the look on the players' faces now. They know that a lot is on the line, and honestly speaking, I think Evo is just a little bit shaken. I mean, the way that they're playing and how they look right now, it must be pretty demoralizing, but of course, this is the 3rd game. It is match point. They need to be on their A game here, and we're going into the draft. Here, it is going to still be Franco as well as Julian. Evos is the one who needs to respond here. What's these 2 bands going to look like?
It could be the same thing. I mean, they could still go for that 1-1 Akai or maybe the 1-1 Ling. But even if they let that Ling go in that first game, they didn't pick it up in the second game. Or it could be like a hidden strat coming in from Omega, right? They want to leave these things later into the game when it matters the most. So we'll see what happens. It does seem like it is going to be the Akai band here coming through for the side of the Singaporean representatives. Valentina is going to be the response. Now, this is the thing. Who is going to be that last ban?
This is going to be a very important ban for Evos SG overall, because so far from the draft we can see that Smart Omega, they're completely cool and collected. They know that their hero pool is very deep, and it doesn't really matter what Evos is going to be banned. At this point, what Evos needs to do is that rather than going too hard on respecting specific players' heroes, is to ban out heroes that would affect their playstyle. Because now that it is do or die for them, I think it is just time to go all in, go for the most comfortable strategy that they can play, ban heroes based on that instead of who they're playing against.
The thing is, I think that's what they did in the previous game as well. They went on comfort picks, you know, like the Grok, the Beatrix, the Benedetta, Kagura. All of these were comfort picks. And right now, by taking out the Eve, they have let the 1-1 through.
Is this a mistake? They have opted to ban the Yves. Sure, they are going to leave different picks for their side to pick up as well, but is 1-1 too much to let go? I mean, what is 1-1's win rate right now? It must be super high. It has a 100% pick and ban rate, and for the most part, the ones who are able to pick up this hero usually comes out on top with the way that she's able to create that momentum and scale.
Yeah, Gideon from the analyst panel has a very strong feeling about this hero overall. He states in his own words, 1-1 is a free win. So I guess we'll find out whether or not Evo's SG giving this over is indeed going to be the case, as they now are going to be the ones to lock in the Masha for themselves, going to be disabling this hero from the side of Omega and giving Sayla that signature Xavier.
Yeah, I mean, Sayla, we talked about it, not Sayla, Xavier. We talked about Xavier underperforming so far in the MSC, right? And a lot of you potentially get a Natalia as well that goes up against this to shut him down. And I think that's one factor that leads to Xavier not having been very successful so far. Is this a bit early?
Yeah, the thing is, it's easy to counter, right? So now Omega, like you mentioned, has the option to pick that up, but it actually is going to be the Ling here coming through for the side of Omega onto Ryzen himself, as well as that Esmeralda. So already a very strong side lane in that. But Evos understand the potential of the Natalia pick. They don't want to ban it out here in the second phase, but they do opt to take it for themselves.
I really like this lineup from Evo's SG so far. If we are observant enough from the past two games, we can tell that Smart Omega, they have a style of play where they'll basically make the decision that if they don't think they're ready for a fight, they just won't take it at all. So in this case, Evo's SG, they're picking up heroes that avoid fights altogether while being able to just segregate members of Smart Omega with this Natalia to at least regain a little bit of that momentum and
is taking out the Deroth as well, and Evo says she's banning out the Angela, so they don't want, definitely, like you said, that composition to get even stronger with that Angela Ling combo. What other options are they potentially looking at here?
I don't know. This is tough. I mean, so the gold lane has been secured, the EXP lane as well, and for sure that jungle position. So now what is lacking is definitely that roamer. They could start banning, or the mid lane that has also yet to be picked up. And so it is going to be the Lilia pick coming through for the side of Evos. Now, as a response, they have opted to ban out the Karina. So, what can Gear use in that jungle position? Now, this is going to be very important. Who has the same amount of mobility to be able to counter someone like the Ling?
Maybe something like the Paquito might not be a bad choice here if they really wanted to. The Benedetta is still open, but it didn't really work out too well for them in the previous game. Instead, they're gonna start things off by locking in the Beatrix, and this does make a lot of sense considering that they've already seen the gold laner on the opposite side. It's better to go with that first, then reveal your jungle and allow Omega to counter it.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're shaping up to look like pretty similar strategies. They have very strong potential to dive the backline as well, but Omega's gonna go ahead and pick up that Rafaela for even more sustain on their end.
In addition to that, the Rafaela is known to be a quote-unquote counter of the Natalia because she will be able and, you know, therefore be able to sniff out where potentially the Natalia is roaming. But what I don't like about this is that it doesn't synergize well with the Ling. So they're going for, like, the Raphael is good for like team fight, mobility, of course some sustainability from the holy healing, but I don't know how it pans out, especially now we see that the Sicilian is going to be the last pick to secure that team fight, that composition coming in from Omega.
Well, now that we have seen both team compositions, we can see that Smart Omega is going for a very late game scaling lineup. They know that with the Xavier and Beatrix from Evo's SG, they can actually take their time and scale up because that is exactly what their opponents want to do as well. Now that we're preparing to enter the land of Dawn, burn this sight into your eyes. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we could very well be looking at the swan song of Evo's SG. Will they be able to prevent themselves being knocked out of the competition? Only time shall tell.
All stakes on the line here as we go into maybe the final match, EVOS' match to prove here, up against the defending champions, Smart Omega. Smart Omega once again on the blue side and EVOS taking the red.
That's a huge question that I want to ask as well. Like, why have they opted for that same position in the drafting as well?
It's a good question, and one that honestly we can't really provide a good answer to, because ordinarily you would think that, alright, they've lost on this side multiple times. EVOS SG especially should want to swap positions, but I do think that they're more comfortable here because they want to be in a position as a draft instead of having to reveal heroes too early themselves.
Looking at these compositions so far, do you have any preferences? I mean, EVOS SG, they kind of have that Natalia, but my worry is that it doesn't scale as well into the lane. And I think JPL has probably picked up the Natalia, but not too much success so far.
I mean, that's going to be the question here as JPL goes in for a pickoff. But maybe that's exactly what they want to do, right? Maybe EVO Singapore, they want to play for that early game. They want to try and snowball, allow and give space for Adamir to potentially scale, because every time we see EVO Singapore in the back foot, we always see that Adamir is falling so far behind because of the pressure that Omega is creating. Now, with the presence of the Natalia, it sure is going to try and buy that time, but we'll see what happens here as it is 1 minute in, still nothing too fancy just yet on the board.
There's basically going to be a timer on the side of EVOS SG here. Yes, they have really strong late game with the Beatrix and the Xavier, but because they also have the Lancelot and the Natalia, they now have to be the ones to dictate the momentum. They need to enter the mid game at an advantage, or Omega, a complete scaling composition, will just completely blow them out of the water.
Gear though with a Phantom Execution chasing down E2 Max and manages to get his first blood, but they react, they try to respond though, and Sailor with that Dawning Light manages to help to disengage the fight. EVOS
A really good trade here for the side of EVO Singapore. One, you're preventing E2 Max from scaling too fast in that early game, and two, you're creating space for your own team to be able to get this objective. But the way that we're seeing it on the map, it does seem like Omega is the one to set up first.
Yeah, right now, EVOS, they're nearby. Looks like it is Omega that's going to be the one securing that. Ryzen gonna be able to take it away from them, and that is just not really ideal for EVOS because, again, with this kind of lineup they have, they want to be the ones to secure that early game advantage, and as long as Omega enters the mid game even equal, then they will be at the advantageous position.
And it's tough, right? I mean, EVOS actually, they need to really step up and accelerate the process of engaging some of these fights. Yes, they got the first blood, but as we saw in the previous game, they have to convert these into objectives as well. Otherwise, they would not be able to get any sort of a meaningful lead.
Yeah, similar thing that we see from EVO Singapore. Sure, they have a little bit of aggression, and they are going to look for pickoffs, and that's quite different to what we saw in game number 1 and game number 2. We didn't see too much of initiation from EVOs, probably because of the draft that they brought in the game. So Omega now is a step behind in the sense they do have a scaling hero, E2 Max, who won't deal as much damage than EVO Singapore in that early stage. So they need to be able to babysit E2 Max, and EVO Singapore knows this.
Yep, they're trying to counter-engage onto JPL though. The Holy Baptism stuns him out, and it will be Kelra that gets the kill onto him. You do not want that 1-1 to scale up.
Yeah, we already mentioned beforehand that Raph, a good counter to the Natalia, and Omega just piling on the pressure here. Ryzen picking up the 1v1 fight against Gear in his own jungle. This is already turning out to be not so swell for EVOS SG. Yes, they're only 700 gold behind, but you can already tell the kind of impact that Omega is making across the map.
And like we said, right, the timing kind of, it's not equal. They're not on equal foot here. If they're equal, that means that EVOS is under 5 seconds now. So EVOS SG, they should look to contest this, but once again, Omega is getting more of the map control.
We'll see what happens here. It does seem like both teams are going to be circling in towards that area. And early enough, already a Clock of Destiny has been secured for the side of E2 Max. They are creating such huge space. Will Gear actually try and contest this one?
Right now the Turtle's being contested. Gear right on top of it. Dawning Light going to miss. Chakanu somehow the one secure. And the Sanguine Claws gonna pull the Lancelot back into the clutches of the rest of the team, as now Nick going to try and run interference will disengage for the rest of EVOS.
Yeah, EVOS tried to, I guess, pull a play there. Chaknu pulling off that save onto the turtle. JPL in the mid lane, some trouble here, gets hit so much by the impact, manages to get away for now.
Evo Singapore now, they are in the back foot. Omega has a 2,000 gold lead, and you can see that reflect onto the items already. You can see that Omega is already on its way to perhaps the second item, and Evo Singapore, I kind of stuck behind on that first.
Yeah, absolutely. They're definitely a bit rough for them right now, but we do have to note that Sayla on the Xavier has been a saving grace for EVO's SG many times in the past, and he was actually able to pick up that Clock of Destiny at the exact same time E2 Max did, so he specifically is not that far behind in gold, and as long as EVO's SG doesn't allow themselves to fall too far behind, they do still have a chance of extending this game long enough for them to come online.
That's what they're looking for here, coming on to Renzio, Sayla as well as JPL, but he is so tanky, and together with those shields, they just don't have a number against him.
The issue is the composition that Evo Singapore brought to the table is really pick-off, right? You have the pressure from Natalia, and you can go in one by one with either DPS or even burst damage coming in from perhaps the Xavier, even Adamir. But now, they don't have any sources of CC, so when it goes into that mid-game and it goes to the late game, Evo Singapore, they're going to fall far behind because they don't have the potential when it comes down to a 5v5 team fight. Whereas from the side of Omega, you have Chaknu with that Holy Baptism, as well as that Falling Star Moon coming in from Renzio. There's just so many things to play with. There's not one clear-cut winning condition, whereas Evo Singapore, it's just only one, and it doesn't seem to be working right now.
For that reason, you can definitely see in a second, Chaknu has to use the flicker to get away, but he is in dangerous territory, right into the hands of Nick. He still stops him with the Holy Baptism. He dies, but that is a fair amount of time wasted.
Yeah, huge amount of time wasted. He created so much space for Omega to take the objective, and EVO's SG, they don't even get a single thing out of that. I mean, Chaknu, yes, one death, but how much does that really mean in the long run?
So disciplined coming in from Omega right now. They're just going in for those turrets. They managed to get one in that bottom side, and they're looking for more. But meanwhile here, I feel like JPL is scouting for something, perhaps.
But is it going to be enough? I feel like JPL is already way too behind in farm, and Natalia definitely needs items to actually take fights. And speaking of fighting, Gear gonna be picked off yet again. Omega just making use of their map presence and mobility. Right now, Ryzen is completely outmaneuvering JPL.
And Omega, look at Renzio just taking out the farm all by himself, trying to strip that off from Gear as well, taking advantage while he has a death. They have the late game scaling, they are getting the gold that they need. This is looking extremely dangerous for EVOS.
Dangerous and bleak, to be honest. I mean, on Gear 131 already 8 minutes in, what's going on with EVOS right now? They're not playing like a unit. They're not looking for initiatives on the board. And it's supposed to be Omega on the back foot because they have that Sicilian in the early game. But if we're looking, nothing of that is reflecting at all on the game. They are now with a 6,000 gold lead, pushing another turret in that top side. Maybe even taking another one.
I think a lot of this has to come down now to mental fatigue. EVO's SG has been on the back foot the entire series, and now that they've drafted themselves a composition where they know they have to be ahead in order to come out on top, and that is not succeeding, you can definitely tell that they're having difficulty, but they're engaging onto Renzio.
Yeah, trying to fight back a little. Just as you said that stuff, I think they were trying to prove it to you that they still have something in them to come back from this game. But yes, fully agree. You know, you mentioned this is a scaling composition, and to top that off, Omega has so much ability to engage and disengage from the team fights. Right now, Renzio getting ganked on by 3 members of EVO's SG though, and JPL securing that kill for himself as well as a bottom turret. So some
compensation on the board, and that's going to be huge, being able to take these one by one. I think that's a plan B, but wait a minute.
Adamir getting caught out here, has to try to make his way out, but it's not going to be possible as Kelra secures the kill. Sayla comes in with the revenge, and now EVO's SG, they're looking for Chaknu. They get Chaknu and Gear as well in the back line, putting out so much EVOs. As we said, consolation prize, they get even more. So I guess this cast is really working out for them.
Yeah, 3 members taken down for the side of only traded for one. It is going to be a Lord on the way though, because Omega were actually in that vicinity. But Ryzen here goes in for another pickoff on the board onto the member of Evo Singapore. I don't know. Now is it worth it? Now is it worth it?
I do think it's now they weren't able to take anything against Omega, so trading evenly is still going to be beneficial. But the Dawning Light instantly breaks down Renzio alongside Wesker. They take the tier 2 tower though. Here comes Chaknu from the side. He's looking for JPL, but the rest of the team not ready to follow up. They're going for the objectives instead.
Yeah, taking here the mid tier 2 turret already. Omega, the moment they pull the trigger, they just go all in for it. With the Lord, they've managed to shake down all these turrets, and Evo's almost down to their inhibitors.
This is tough. This is tough. I guess one of the things that Evo Singapore can do is try and utilize the Natalia in its Plan B form. Plan A, go for pickoffs. Plan A, go for those early games, aggressive type of 1v1 situations, or even just pickoffs across the board. Plan C, D, E, F, split push, split push, split push. But that even is very difficult because Omega has that Ling.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. The Ling is really messing up with Evo's SG's plan. And even though they did give it over, recognizing that would have the mobility to deal with it, Ryzen is just exercising much better awareness over the map, and Omega is again just manipulating this game's tempo to their own style. They're the ones in control of the map. They're the ones to decide when to go for the fight. The only times when Evos is able to gain an advantage, and they need to be able to fabricate those situations.
But even then though, Omega, even if they lose members, they get something else in return. Like they got the lot earlier off of the fight from Evo's SG. So no matter what, it seems like every single time Omega comes out on top. Ryzen at the top side trying to look for a pickoff, doesn't quite find that, but manages to push his way in. And look at Omega, just so disciplined, rotating as an entire.
Okay, but that was good, right? That was good. They were able to get an objective on the board in the top side, and that's exactly what we were talking about. Okay, you can't go in for that 5v5 situations, you can't go in for those skirmishes. What else can you do? Focus on objectives, focus on those split pushes. They were able to utilize the way that Omega was clumping up to look for a good siege, and the way that the Lancelot was actually able to go and rotate towards that top side and find a turret on the board from the side of Omega. And if Omega keeps doing this grace that Evo Singapore actually needs, as now Omega though are going to start opening that Lord.
The question is whether or not they're gonna show that vulnerability again. Omega is very good at adapting to these sort of situations, and now that they know that there is a weakness, a chink in their armor, you can be sure that they're going to try and adapt to it. Getting very close.
Almost getting it, unfortunately. Not being able to secure the kill, Omega, Evo's actually tried to pull the split push down, but Omega had an answer to that as well. And on top of that, they baited the Lord. So Omega has so much control over the map, and Evo's actually just being forced to respond to things time and again.
Ooh, look at that damage of that Dawning Light. Okay, you can say that Omega scales, sure, but that Dawning Light is going to be a problem for Omega. They need a way to be able to find him and take him out, because just chunking them to half health before a Lord, that's going to be a huge factor as well.
Yeah, definitely got to play around Sayla, but here comes the engagement. Evos, they need to run away from Omega as Ryzen is now jumping in with Tempest Ablaze.
Yeah, almost falling as well. They get 2 kills, 3 kills onto them, a return kill onto Kelra as well, but Ryzen racks up a triple for himself through that Adamir. Aggressive plays here with the flicker in, trying to get Chaknu, gets the last hit to close it up, but he gets shut down by E2 Max and Chaknu, and it's going to be a wipeout on the side of Evo's SG.
Clean cut game coming in from the side of Omega. It was Adamir, the last one standing, but unfortunately, he came out a little too aggressive. Now Ryzen and Sayla in a 1v1 situation. Tempest of Blades happens, but the shutdown actually comes to Evo Singapore.
Oh, it looked like that was going to be the end right there, but I think even Ryzen realized that with the Tempest of Blades, he wouldn't be able to escape from the Xavier, so just stood there prepared to meet his end. Evo's SG going to be preserving their chances in the competition for now, but you can already see the amount of damage coming out from Ryzen, getting a triple kill by himself in the back line. That's not ideal.
Because now Ryzen isn't here to contest the Lord Evos, though they're still tentative on pulling this trigger here, going to chunk down the damage slowly, and they will be able to secure it for themselves. But now Omega comes in, they want to be able to engage, and the crossbow of 10 procs all onto Gear and manages to put him in a body bag. Sailor is the next target here. Two of them fall, traded out for one E2 max. Evil's SG, they get the objective, but the price for it. Adamir in some trouble. Renzio chasing him down. The stun comes through and the kill comes through as well.
That's not good. That's not good. 3 members now have fallen from the side of Evil Singapore. Sure, there is a Lord on the way, and it does seem like JPL is looking for a play. Let's see what he can do.
Ooh, jumping there. So Evil's SG, they're not ready to sit down and roll over just yet, but they're now in a 2v3 situation. Will Omega be able to break straight through? Looks like they're gonna make the wise choice to retreat.
They had the creeps, but you know, this is, as we said, an Omega V2 of sorts. They look super disciplined, going to make the decision to only push when they are 100% confident of doing that. So backing off for now. But Evil's SG, Eterna. 5-10 minutes ago that it was looking really bleak. How is this looking now?
To be honest, it's still looking bleak. Sure, you can find some contests on the board, but the way that Omega is playing, they're not making mistakes. And if they do make mistakes, they just find a way to be able to come back through it. I guess their only saving grace is going to be JPL to look for some pickoffs on the board. But the way that Ryzen is playing like a monster on this thing, it's going to be a very tough time for Adamir to pop off.
What is notable though is that since Omega are already so strong, they're actually confident taking individual fights, and they're definitely spreading themselves thinner than they normally would. Lot of space for JPL as well as Adamir to be able to find the squishier targets in the backline because Ryzen is too busy in their backline instead.
It's like you're being torn by two things, right? You want to engage, but at the same time, you need to be able to make sure that nobody dies because, as we know, Adamir and Sailor are always the winning conditions to Evo's SG. Nick and Renzio brawling it out here in the top side, taking some damage, but you can see both teams just waiting it out for any opportunity to start a team fight before the next objective comes up. Ryzen finds Gear at the bottom side. 3 members of Omega 4 rotate down to take him down. Gear dashes and tries to make his way out, but it's not going to be enough, and he has to bow out of this one. And
7-1 is Gear's KDA. He has been taken down 7 times in this 18-minute game. Sure, he does have a way of putting the map, and that's exactly what you want to be trying to do. But unfortunately, that being said, it's the same thing as game number 2. Sorry, when I think about it, right? They want Gear to contest the objectives, but every time it gets popped up, he gets taken down right before it because he's trying to split the map. So maybe next time, don't rely on Gear to be the ones to do that.
Well, the question is whether or not there will be a next time, because now the final evolution of the Lord might go to the hands of Omega. Dawning to try and steal it. Here comes JPL, but Omega in a much better position here.
Yeah, definitely, and they've already secured the Lord for themselves, Omega as well as JPL to boot. So they are having the upper hand here. Once the Lord comes out, this could be the final stand that Evo's SG has to make.
1 member down, a Lord on the way for the side of Omega. It does seem like Evo Singapore are looking for something, but is this going to be a mistake? Ryzen here already sniffing those bushes. They don't want to move a single finger right now because that would just definitely really put the nail in the coffin.
That was actually quite dangerous there for Adamir and Gear. It just so happened that Omega didn't check that one single bush. If they were caught out of position there, that would have been the end. But Evo's SG still has the option opportunity to defend right now. It's going to be a difficult one as now the Luminous Lord pushes in the mid lane.
Yeah, even if they didn't get caught there, they might just right now. Sayla doesn't even have his ultimate to be able to help defend this, but there is enough damage from the side of EVOS to quickly clear that Lord out. Omega, unfortunately, somehow didn't have the rest of the waves to be able to make the push.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. JPL, they're looking in that bush, maybe trying to get a pick off onto E2 Max. But once again, Omega, with the very disciplined plays, they decide to disengage. And now, Evo Singapore, they're starting to reach their power spikes. I saw a Holy Crystal being taken in for Sayla as well, and you can see that he already has a Divine Glaive. So expect really huge damage penetration. And maybe the way that they're playing with the cooldown so high, they can use that Dawning Light to their advantage.
Now that we are in the 20th minute, you can see that most of the players on the map have already completed their items. Evo is trying to push out the contest. Lord, but Omega knows that they need to make sure the Singaporean team remains in their base. They cannot afford to take any more risk because, as you mentioned, we are actually reaching their power spike now.
Yeah, it does seem like that's going to be the case here, but JPL may be caught in a bad situation. The Tempest of Blades has been popped up, but look at what is going on.
Well, they actually secure 1 kill already in that engage, and Omega, they're just so quick. Now they're trying to go on gear, but the Mystic Field will be able to hold them at bay.
Why? Tell me why, Stafa.
Well, you have to realize that EVO's SG is really good at prolonging these games here, and that's what they're doing. They're clearing up the wave. A fight is starting again, but Nick is taking the brunt of the damage. He's fine. Crossbow tank, not quite enough to finish off. Is on top of the crystal. They want to end this right now. Nick finally falls after ages. Killing spree going over to
so far though, and he took so much damage before they finally went down. That's what gave EVO's SG the chance to defend this, but the Lord is here now. This one, maybe for real, they're actually gonna take it and push. They've been waiting for an opportunity to use this and finally close out the game.
They're completely ignoring that minion push in that bottom side. They want to go big or go home. And this might be the final stance here once again for the side of EVO Singapore. JPL already looking for a play, scouting vision, but Renzio, I think he knows, man, at this stage, the way that EVO Singapore is playing, they're playing with a pattern, and Omega is so good at reading patterns.
Ooh, that was close. Sayla nearly timing it perfectly for the Lord, and that would have changed EVO's SG's fate entirely. So Ryzen was able to secure it just in time. But so far, we have seen EVO's put up an incredible defense, all thanks to this Xavier. Omega has to recognize now that Sayla is the big problem, preventing them from pushing straight into the base and ending things. If they're not able to find that opening, we could be seeing a repeat of EVO's game against RRQ yesterday.
That kind of plays to what Eterna said, right? Omega is so good at reading patterns. It's almost like they picked up this disciplined approach. They've been so patient just waiting out this game. I think ordinarily in the previous team fights and the way we've seen them play, they would have already gone and pulled the trigger, but they have not so far. They just want to be 100% sure, and maybe this will be it now as they get so much onto Adamir and manage to put him into a body bag. This is the play that Omega wants right now. Gear in some trouble. Tempest of Blades lay down. Will they able to secure the kill? It is JPL that goes down next, and they run up to the top inhibitor turret just for good measure. They don't have enough minions to be able to push this down though. They are coming right up now as Omega. They wait this out. They want the close. Gear goes in, but he gets put down. Immortality pop, but not for long. They don't need it because Omega secures this entire series with a 3-0 against EVO's SG.
The defending champions once again showing what it is and what it takes to be crowned the champions of the sea. A 3-0. So clean, so textbook, so disciplined. This is what we were waiting for this whole time. We were waiting for Smart Omega to pop off. The switch has turned on, and I gotta say, everyone is in danger.
Unfortunately, that does mean that we're going to be seeing the final Singaporean representative going home today, and Smart Omega has truly made an impact. They have made a statement. Will we be witnessing the lower bracket meta once again here at MSC 2022?
It definitely looks like that's what we're seeing. I mean, the moment the pressure is on this team, they just shine, they power through, and it's suddenly like a 2.0 version of all of them.
Yeah, what we know about Smart Omega, the way that they're relying on Chaknu, let's say, all of that is out the window. They're able to just create their own playstyle in-game, adapt so well to what the enemy is going for, and that is definitely a trait of the champion.
But GG, well played to both Smart Omega and Evos SG. It was an amazing game, one that will be remembered for a long time. Smart Omega, they're gonna be moving on into the next stage of the competition. Let's see what our host Mara has to say.
Congratulations to Smart Omega. I'm going to give you a little bit of an inside scoop. Before the game started, they were actually pretty nervous and they said, we hope it's not our last day for today. But let's pull somebody in right here. Take a look at them. Hey, hi. Kalra. Kalra, come on over. Come on over, Kalra. Come on over. Come on over. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. I'm going to give you a mic. Right over here, I'm gonna give you a mic. Oh, Hito, translator. Okay, stand beside me right over here. Hito, Kalra, Filipino Savage, and the six-man translator, Hito. Okay, Kalra, I got an inside scoop that 4 in the morning, you were still awake and you could not sleep. Why? What was going through your mind? What were you feeling last night? You could use your mic, Hito.
Sige, Tagalog.
Filipino translator.
Tag dito.
Yeah? He's saying he's shy.
Yung ginagawa ko nun, nung nakaraan, kagabi. Yung ginagawa ko nun, naglalaro ako para mas lumakas pa. Tapos, ayun lang.
Hito?
He said,
yeah, it's on.
He said he's doing fine and he's just playing and he's listening to the horror movie. He's watching.
Why were you watching horror movies? What do you mean?
Pampatulog ko po yun eh.
Oh!
He said he want to split his sleep. He can sleep while listening in horror.
Okay, horror movies help him sleep. Okay, so Kalra, I want to know because we've seen this before. Every time Omega, formerly known as Execration, goes to the lower bracket, for some reason, what is it about the lower bracket that you guys like so much?
Bakit gusto mo lagi nasa lower bracket?
Kasi hindi ko alam, may tinadaan na sa amin yung lower bracket. Ayaw sa amin upper bracket eh. Same lang naman yun, kahit upper or lower. Parehas lang yun. Kung malakas.
He said the lower bracket is destiny. It's destiny. And he always on the lower bracket since last year, last MPL, this MPL, and now on MSC.
Okay, now, after your loss last game, how did the team handle it? And how did you guys become so upbeat for today? What was the secret for today?
Ano daw sikreto mo nung natalo kayo nung last laban nyo? Anong sikreto nyo nung natalo kayo nung last laban?
Wala, lang. Basta pag lower bracket, malakas na kami.
He said if he's in the lower bracket, he's so super strong. Super duper ultra mega strong in the lower bracket.
Okay, what is your message to all the Filipino fans outside and everybody watching online, Kalra?
Salamat sa mga pumunta dyan, na mga fans namin na nanood pa, pumunta pa dito sa venue para manood. Thank you sa supportaan. Thank you sa walang sawang suporta sa lahat ng fans namin, and shoutout sa girlfriend ko and sa pamilya ko. Sa inyo lahat.
And he said that thank you to all the fans and happy birthday to all the fans. Yeah.
Okay, Hito has always wanted to host. He didn't get to play. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to host. Now, what are you gonna tell the fans right now? And we're gonna throw it to the casters. Go ahead, Hito.
Yeah. So yun guys, you gonna watch our battle to the next match for tomorrow, because yesterday we don't have match. Tomorrow, we have a match against RRQ or Orange Esports. Yeah. Support us. Ay, RSG or Orange Esports. Wrong send. Thank you.
All right. Now, congratulations. Good luck in the next round. And we're going to head on over to our analyst.
Thanks, Mara, for the insight of victory as a lot of Omega Esports fans rejoice. And let's keep it on the wide angle here because, Leo, I have to tell you, Omega Esports fans are slipping through the cracks. They're coming out of everywhere. They continue to rejoice for some reason.
Yep.
It's a bright day.
Some of them have flown in from far land. Some of them just walk right through the front door. And some of them, actually, nay, a lot of them are enjoying the show. Man, a sweep by the Kings of Sea right from underneath EVOS SG. The lower bracket is their home, and they are staying here at Mike Tech to defend that title.
Yep, they are. And I mean, continuously, it is looking better and better for Omega. Let's have a look at the items here on our LED screen to really break it down for you, because this game was a little different coming in from EVOS SG, but even then, Omega had some answers.
Going into the draft, we were already looking for problems and solutions. And one big question was, how's JPL's Natalia? Because that would have been a thorn on the side of Omega that drafted relatively expensively in the early game. They picked up the 1-1, and then they picked up the Ling, which are power picks for the two core heroes in Omega's camp. And I gotta say, Omega answered well. Omega put JPL in a position where, yeah, you can get some kills, but they're on the right people. And not just that, they picked up the Rafaela, which just almost instantly checkmated JPL as he was hiding in bushes, all the invisible things that a Natalia does, like, I can just see where you are, says Chaknu.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely correct about this. Omega, they're showing their experience here and the depth of their hero pool, stealing buffs after buffs and putting gear so far back. EVOS SG, I think they had the right idea. Unfortunately, it cost them too much, and especially one of their biggest weaknesses in this transitional phase for this very new-blooded, new generational team for EVOS SG is that their hero pool isn't complete just yet.
Yep. What makes it all the more evident is in the execution. If you watched very closely, EVOS SG had a plan, all right? Coach Youngin and the squad, they knew what they wanted to do. 1, 2, 3, one step at a time. But what made it so evident that Omega was just 2 steps ahead, they were evolving way too fast for EVOS SG to respond, was they were again playing across the map. Moments or stayed in the lane, and Renzio was already halfway through the map.
Yeah. No, there were moments of brilliance, and Omega consistently showing up